Hello everyone and welcome to the second episode of Friday Favourites. Now this is going to be a bit of a throwback to a game that I used to play when I was really young, and this is Age of Empires 2. This is the HD edition, which is the version that was remade and added back onto Steam after it basically was so old it probably wouldn't play on most computers. They've now redone it quite a few years ago actually, and it's basically exactly the same game. They've just made it full HD. The textures are all roughly the same, but they kind of redid them, the little animations a little bit. But it's basically exactly the same thing, and it's great. Um, Today I'm just going to have to do a bit of a quick game, so I'm going to try and do like a normal single player game. For anyone that isn't aware, this is just like a little city building warfare game where you control what all your people do and you have to gather resources and build an army and eventually take down your enemies. You can either do that in a violent way or you can do that in other ways, depending on how you have a victory. So I'm going to start with just a small game at the moment, and I will pick the Japanese because I always love the Japanese, and they can have a random thing, and we'll see how this goes. Now there will probably be some heavily edited bits that maybe speed up because it's not the most exciting of games to begin with. There's parts that just take a long time, and because of that I will speed up a few bits that get a bit boring. But to begin with, the beginning of the game, what you're going to want to do is gather as much food and build as many villagers as possible. And villagers are the things that gather your resources. So you want lots and lots of them. And there's almost no point, because unless you're playing on a hard difficulty, there's not going to be any attacks early on. So you may as well just farm only. Now I'm just sending my horse guy around. He's just gonna find whatever there is to kind of discover and go and get. So there's resources that I'll find. There'll also be eventually, I think, the enemies, but they'll be down here in the map. And they're usually diagonally opposite, so I'm assuming they'll be down here. And just get this woman to kill all these sheep. The advantage I found of killing them straight away is that if you leave them alive, they can be claimed by the enemy. If the enemy just walks near them, whoever's the nearest character, not whoever's the nearest, whoever's walked nearest to them will kind of claim that as their own. So if you walk near a set of sheep in the wild, they will become yours. So I'm just going to get most people on getting food, and food's just what we really want to focus on as much as possible. Oh, here we go. Oh, that's weird, they're right opposite us, but much closer than I thought. So we really want lots and lots of wood and lots and lots of food. More food, because food is what we use to get people. Just name him number 1. Yeah, so that's what happens with the sheep. And I can then, once I've claimed those, I can just send them back and control them as my own sheep. Okay, so now I've got going a bit more. I've got a lot of resources being gathered. I have got quite a few idle villagers who have basically got to the point where they've not got anything to gather. So I'm just going to redistribute those a little bit. Now I'm going to try and get quite a few fishing boats up and running. They're always very useful to get. I'm just going to put some other bits and bobs scattered around. Now if I get a lot of wood, which I've already got quite a lot of, I can get quite a few fishing boats. and I'll just get my people. These ones. Get a couple of those. We'll get them building some more houses. Just 30 wood, so I'll just build another one in a second. And that should be able to get us going a bit. A few more people going on this. Start production of these fishing ships. And the fishing ships are just another way you can gather food. So you can have a boat and you can send them off and they'll just go fishing and gather lots of food. Which is always a kind of reasonable option. Also means you don't have to have quite as many villagers. So we've got 5 lumberjacks. Maybe want a few more. I'll probably be looking at that for a moment. So I should be able to sheep. I should be able to get the next stage now, which is 500 food, which I do have, so I'll do that now. Send one of my boats off. Couple more sheep. Why are you not doing anything? Send the guy up. The problem with this map, I suppose, is that there isn't much space to do fishing. There you go. So he'll go fishing there. So you can get a reasonable amount. And I believe we'll catch up a bit with them. Their score's gone a bit higher than us now, but as soon as we go to the next age, that will jump up loads. Hopefully there's some fishing areas close to us. There's one. There you go. So that's not bumped us up far enough. Get more villagers. Take the idle village button. Okay. So my usual tactic is to have a fortified wall behind everything, and then have everything like around that. So I think I'm going to do a similar tactic. So I'll get a couple of these villagers, and actually to begin with, I'll put down a patrol tower type thing. Oh, they're already in the castle age. So the problem with the AI is that the AI can do this, but also they can control these people and redirect every single person at once, which I can't do because I can only control what's on my screen at one time. So AI are always a bit quicker at getting up and going. However, they kind of they plateau and don't really progress that much because they're designed not to. They're sending over a guy to attack our watchtower, who's just probably going to get killed. So that's fine. They want to do that. I think because it's so close they can't actually attack it, but if I just do this... Oh, they're doing that. Huh. Well, this is sad. Hopefully once this is built, they'll just go home. Otherwise, that's going to be very sad. Okay, so another update. Currently doing okay. However, I've noticed there was a fire ship, which is like an offensive ship that takes out other ships, and it was heading kind of this direction, maybe around here. So that was a bit worrying. There you go. Here's one of them. They may have put a patrol on so they can prevent me having ships going in this way. But I'm kind of hiding around the back. I've got some farms set up with a mill, and I can queue up some. I can queue up some extra farms, so when one of them runs out, because they've got a limited amount of food that they can provide, you can replant it automatically, which is one of the most fantastic features of this, is that you no longer have to go right-clicking all your fields to replant them all. I've got a little bit of an army going, and I've got a little bit of a wall, so I now need to just do a quick check whether I have another. There's another way of getting across. There might be another way other than that, like here potentially. I'm not really sure. So I'll go investigate that. So I'll send over my little army. I built a couple of these. So I'm just going to kind of figure out a kind of good way of defending this, because I think that's where they're going to have to come across, is through here. So they're going to send battering rams and stuff, probably. No, so I think I've done the right thing. I've blocked off this, and I've put down these towers, which will mean that I've got a lot of defense here. Blacksmith is what you would use to improve the effectiveness of your military, so they can add points of damage or points of armor. This is the foot soldiers come from the barracks. Archers range gives you the long range people, obviously. So the victory I might try and go for is to get these relics, and that's like I suppose the religious victory, where if you get all 5 of these relics, you can instantly start counting down to do a victory. And it's what I prefer to do, because it's a little bit less tedious. Because when you have to do an actual attack, you've got to be very, very offensive and spend a lot of time clicking on all the different things you want to try and kill. So I'm going to make 5 fire ships, because I think once I've got those, I'll really be able to give myself a bit of a boost. Yeah, so this is what happens if you don't have any you've got to click on your person and right click. There you go. So that was a ship was trying to attack something. This wall, maybe? No, I'm being attacked from somewhere, but I don't know where. Down here. So the thing with the fire ships is they're actually only really low on health, so it doesn't take too long to take them out. So I'm just setting up these with fishing traps, which are basically the same as a farm, which means I can just have them in a line over here, fishing. Rather than have to send them off. Every single building has a variety of upgrades that you can always be continuously trying to do. This tower's almost full. Seems they're always attacking down here, so I'll just leave these over here. There you go. So I'm going to go and try and build a monastery, but I need more wood. I need 175, which I already have now. Just literally, there's a few off. I'll get a monk, and then I can start gathering these. So basically, with the relics, you just pick them up. You walk a monk over there. You can pick up the relic, walk back to your monastery, drop it off there, and if you get all 5, so there's one. Where can I see them? Yeah, they're little white dots in the map. So there's one there, one there, one there, and then the others are probably somewhere. So I send the monk over, he'll pick up that relic and he'll bring it back to his monastery. I have the spare guy, I'll send him over to build that house. I'll send him over down here to repair that wall. That's the sound of the relic. Bring that back to the monastery. So the other thing is it's worth as well trying to get at least one relic, because then you prevent the enemy from getting all 5 of them without you realising. Which obviously you don't really want. There's one. And another one over there. Oh, hello. Sink their fire ship. I've got the advantage of having multiple in one area. Though saying that, they've now got multiple. We've got quite a bit going on gold. It's food and wood that we need. Oh yeah, so we did get it. We lost 2 ships apparently. Oh, and there's another one here. That's perfect. We will need another monk though. Cool. So I'm sending that ship, and also the one with the 2 monks. And I hope, but I'm not sure, that the monks will be able to go back in here with their thing. I'm not sure though. But I'll find out. That'd be great if I can get a couple more of those. I'd like to know where the other one is though. So they've rebuilt that in exactly the same place. The ultimate test. Yes, we can. Very, very unsafe game. Because they're going to chase me down. Luckily they shouldn't be able to catch me up. So because of not having any of those ships to defend me anymore, not sure where they went. Probably got taken out. I'll make some more. Cool, so I managed to pick up that. For some reason I've accidentally taken that boat as well. Just get that back here. He can now unload his monk. So I think the problem they've run into now is that they've kind of not got the ability to expand much more. Oh no! Okay, well I found it. So now I need to send a rescue party. So now I'm going in for the crazy attack. The options I have are having lots of these trebuchets, or I can build battering rams. Or I could build a wonder. I think I'll build a wonder anyway over here. Cool. One more trebuchet to set up, and then I can just come over here, set up in a line, and just destroy a city. Hopefully. Okay. So I've got my army. And, I'll leave the monk here actually. So the advantage of having loads of archers is that you can technically kill a lot of things from long range. But it doesn't always work. So now the problem is that all those guys died, but I did do a big lot of damage to all their knights. You can see there's a big pile of dead bodies. Let's get conscription. Conscription is a thing the castle can produce and lets you basically like recruit quicker. Okay, so I've got the last thing if I want to win like that. Okay, so I've got the last thing, so I'll get that going now. Also got a monastery which should be done shortly. So now I've got a countdown on the top right that says relics, 196 years, and when that gets down to 0, I'm done. That's it, I win. Just sending in some soldiers again. So my intention now is just to kind of walk through their base. Can't do much damage to buildings with these, but I can do lots of damage to buildings with these. So, they have loads of horses. So I'll get loads of pikemen, which are the things that are good against horses. Almost done with our wonder. So sending in a few more archers, but I've got a lot of hand cannoneers, and that should give us a lot more power, because they're quite an advanced, high kind of tier. Let's have a look at how we're doing. I should do an experiment and set this guy up. Move the rest of them back. Disassemble him. So not doing fantastic. Running out of resources on our island, but we should be able to make do. Bit over there. So I feel it's probably now an appropriate time to explain why it's a fun game. Because you can have cheats, so I can send in a little car over to their base. I've got 5 years until I win anyway. 4 years. And you can just tear things to shreds with a little car. But yeah, so it's been great fun. It's such a nostalgic game, and I've always loved this game, because it's just, I grew up playing it, and I've never really got that great at it. I can't do like multiplayer against people who actually know how to play properly, but it's just, I've always had such a fun time, because it's just like my childhood game, and I just love playing it. So again, I do recommend playing this if it looks like something you'd be interested in. There's lots of different game modes. There's some that are much more long and drawn out. You can play against easy AI if you just want to have a bit of an easy game. You can play against multiple enemies, and you can have allies. I was just doing a reasonably short game because I obviously had to try and play it with enough time to make it into a video because it's quite a long thing to do. But yeah, so my victory was a bit easy because they didn't seem to touch the relics at all, which was a bit weird. Usually they'll go for the relics slightly, but instead they seem to have gone for loads of houses. And then they just kind of sent troops over whenever I tried to get near them, but they rarely attacked me after the first initial bit. And I never really got to use my trebuchets, but they were good because you can set them up around the city and just wipe it out very quickly. I really hope you enjoyed it, because I really enjoy this game. That's why it's part of my nostalgic Friday favourites, because it's a game I've always loved. And it's probably one of my all-time favourite games. It's not something I would regularly play anymore, but I go through little phases where I'll play it for a day, and it will just bring back so many good memories of childhood that it's just so great. There are sequels to this. There's Age of Empires 3. There are, I believe, mobile games, but they're probably not comparable. Age of Empires 3 is quite good. I didn't like it as much just because I didn't get any nostalgic feeling from it. And this is just so close to it is the same as what it was, so it's just perfect to be able to quickly kind of remind myself of my childhood game so nicely because of how convenient this is now. It's on Steam rather than running on a, I don't know, off a CD or anything random. But yeah, so thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll see you next week for next week's Fan Friday. The possibilities I will share with you now. This is my little list. I've got this list of games. They don't have to be in this order. Hopefully you can see this. If not, it's an Excel spreadsheet with the games I'd like to be playing. So I've just done Age of Empires 2, so that's recorded. And then I've got a selection of others. I'm trying to alternate between old and new, but there's quite a few games coming up. So Metro 2033 is a game I really loved, and they've got the Redux versions, which are like the kind of slightly better engines, and they run a bit smoother and aren't as kind of awkward. So some of the user interface was a bit weird on the old ones, on the original Metro, but it's a really good game. Homeworld is a space game, very similar. It's like a space strategy, a bit like Age of Empires, but with spaceships, and it's really, really nice and quite fun because it's all like you've got 3 dimensions and you've got your selection of spaceships and you can gather resources and do all that. Witcher 3 is a game my friend Meg introduced me to, and it's the best game I've ever played, probably. It's not got much nostalgia for me, but it's the most absorbed story I've ever found, and that's quite rare in video games now. The story is so overlooked and it's more concentrating on the gameplay on a lot of games nowadays. So Witcher was fantastic, Witcher 3. Pharaoh and Caesar 3 are very similar. They're both basically the same game. They're just different textures and slightly different in how everything works. Oblivion is in the Elder Scrolls series, and it was the one I played when I was about 16, and it was really good fun. So I think that had a much better story than Skyrim, and the quests were a bit more interesting, and because of that I really kind of do like that game. Crisis is a bit like a kind of first-person shooter, but it's very stealthy if you want to be. If you play it on harder difficulties, it can be very, very interesting. Similar to Metro, actually. I always play Metro on a really tough difficulty just because it's so immersive. When you're playing it on the hard modes, you're literally trying to run along with like a couple of bullets, and you have to be like, oh my god, I found another bullet! And then you have another bullet, and you can then potentially kill someone with that bullet. But it's not like a game where it's, oh, I picked up 50 ammo, and then you can just unload all that ammo on loads of enemies. You've got to like crawl around carefully, pick off people as quietly as you can, because otherwise everyone will get alerted and they'll ring bells, and suddenly you've got loads of people hunting you down. But it's really, really good, and that's set in post-apocalyptic Russia, in the Metro underground mostly. And it's all about, there's lots of like weird cults have come back from the historic kind of time. So you've got the kind of neo-Nazis, and well, I suppose they're not really neo-Nazis, they're just the Nazi kind of thing. You've got the communists and you've got the kind of freedom fighters, I suppose. And it's just really good. It has quite a nice story, a bit different, and a very nice kind of shooter that's a bit different from most shooters. Roller Coaster Tycoon's another really, really nostalgic one. It's the original one I used to play when I was a kid, and I just used to love the fact you can just have rubbish roller coasters, but then try and make them really ambitious and then fail. And there's obviously new versions. I've been playing Planet Coaster, which is really, really good, and is basically like everything that Roller Coaster Tycoon should have been. They've not added any unnecessary stuff. They've made it so you can create fantastic scenery, fantastic roller coasters, make it look perfect, customize everything as much as you want, and that's what makes that great. But I think Roller Coaster Tycoon, the original one, was just so kind of it's that nostalgic feeling that I get. So there are like better versions. You can get Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 and 3, but 3 I didn't like as much as the other two. But then 2 is like slightly different from number 1, so I prefer number 1. So yeah, Roller Coaster Tycoon, Combat Flight Simulator is a flight simulator game, but it's World War II, very, very simple, not many kind of complicated controls. Best played with a joystick probably, and yeah, it's a good one. That one I may not play at the moment because I don't have a joystick on me, so I might not be able to do that very well. But yeah, so if you can see this list, Metro 2033 I may do next, or potentially any of the others from this list. So let me know if any of these stand out to you and you would like to see any of them, and I'll try and kind of figure out what people want to see and do those first. And there may be more that I add on to this because there's a lot of games that I have always loved. But yeah, so let me know, and hopefully see you in the next time. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week. Goodbye.